News with Gina.
The News with Gina Grad.
Well, things are really rolling on this Harvey Weinstein trial. So Monday, one of the women at the center of the rape trial took the stand. That's Miriam. She goes by Mimi Haley, a former production assistant on Project Runway, told the jury that the movie mogul forced himself on her orally at his New York City apartment in 2006, and that she was in so much shock she just checked out. Then 2 weeks later, she claimed she had non-consensual intercourse with him in her hotel room. Defense lawyers showed the jury several friendly emails from her to Weinstein after the alleged assault. Attorney Damian Chironis argued that Haley had a, quote, consensual relationship with Mr. Weinstein. And she is one of two accusers who Weinstein has been charged with assaulting. But a couple days ago, Rosie Perez took the stand to testify on behalf of her friend, Annabella Sciorra, who had also taken the stand about how she was raped. But she said, in those days, we didn't think of it as rape. I thought rape was when a stranger jumped out of the bushes. I didn't know it could be after a friendly conversation with an acquaintance. And
how does one set oneself up for forcing oral on a woman?
Yeah, that's a power
do it
move.
like I drop my contact? Like, how do you physically start that? Yeah,
That's
he's a big
question.
man. He doesn't seem that nimble or flexible. Do you just start pushing your way down toward the person's waist?
You push her down and push her legs open?
And do guys who do that, do they want to do that? Or they think they're going to get the ball rolling this way. You got to realize, almost every porn movie has the plot, or used to have, her going, stop,
no,
oh, stop. They've seen too much of that,
right? Maybe, or this is just one of the many tools in his rapist belt.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we've seen all kinds of.
Is this a rape gone wrong, Gina?
This would be a rape gone wrong for sure. So Perez, a day or so ago, said on behalf of Annabella Sciorra, I think it was rape. She said, why did they asked, of course, why didn't she go to the police? Sciorra said, because he would destroy me. Weinstein's lawyers asked Perez why she didn't go to the police, and Perez says she wanted to be respectful of her friend. Sometimes it's just good to have these reminders, or sometimes we're learning this for the first time. They had a woman, a forensic psychologist named Barbara Ziv, explain on the witness stand that the idea of a woman responding to a sexual assault by screaming and yelling and punching and biting, it happens. It's very rare. She's an expert witness for the prosecution, who also testified in Bill Cosby's sexual assault trial, and dismissed these rape myths that if you didn't fight back, you weren't raped.
Why does she hate men?
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
exactly. Sometimes these women you just sort of hover above yourself, and you just sort of stammer home in a stupor, and you try and get on with things, and you don't really know what happened. It's not that if you weren't kicking and biting, you weren't raped.
Well, for sure, if there's any kind of trauma in the past, you seize up.
Sure.
And the trauma could be lots of different kinds of trauma, but
Confrontation of some sort.
yeah, I mean, well, look, if you were sexually assaulted, abused as a young person, then you completely lock up.
Right.
You just hover above your body. You don't even
Right.
react like that. I learned from Loveline. If somebody just if somebody, dad mainly, just made you feel like a zero, then you'll have that same thing.
Sure.
You have to have, I hate to say, it's not really high self-esteem. It's a kind of a thing where it's just like, look, Harvey Weinstein could have banged me 1,000 times. I wouldn't have said a word. That's how I grew up. I wasn't physically or sexually abused. I just grew up like that guy gets to do whatever he wants to you.
Right.
My version of it is like, go crawl under that house and dig a footing with a coffee can. Okay. I just do whatever you told me to do. Seriously, I wouldn't do anything if somebody sexually whatevered me, but I'm not quite as desirable as Annabella Sciorra is. She's a bit of all right.
Yeah.
So, there needs to be, I can tell you, the percentages are probably right along the lines of percentages of women who are just grown up. I hate empowered and strong and all that kind of stuff, but like I didn't empower Natalia, but Natalia feels like you don't fuck with her and she does what she wants, and if you try to fuck with her, she's going to go off. She's going to sound like a macaw during like mating season, you know? And you have a much better shot at Sonny.
That's probably true.
Pedophiles,
Listen up.
got your steno pads out. That's their wiring and their upbringing.
Right.
You know, so there's a little nature and nurture in there. But yeah, people lock up. And also, I think when a guy like, see, here's what these guys have. Bill Cosby, Weinstein, whatever. They have an element of surprise, which is you cannot believe that Bill Cosby has got his hands on your pussy. You're just your mind is numb. You're 23 and it's not. It's going to feel surreal.
Yes.
You know, if you're sitting on a subway and some strange dude does whatever, you immediately react because it's all in this context.
Right.
If Harvey Weinstein is doing this thing, you have to process this.
You probably know him pretty well. You're in his hotel room. You've made deals with them.
Right. And that's
You're right.
That's what's happening. It's like a frozen, like, this is crazy. What's going on?
Exactly. And I'm listening to this podcast series called Chasing Cosby, and it's fascinating. The first episode or two, they talk to Andrea Constand and her mother, and he's so gross. There's not a word for it. He even said, because it's recorded and he didn't know he was being recorded. And he says to her, you know, in defense of himself, he calls her mom and says, and mom, she even had an orgasm. Right. And then he said, I'm a very sick man. So it's like, this is the Cosby that's talking to the rape victim's mother.
Max Patter, write down an idea for a new podcast that's going to go to the top of the charts. It's a mom's worst nightmare.
Yeah, of course.
We hire an actress.
Right. Ace on the actress.
She tells true stories, you know, about the time her special needs daughter was walking to get froyo in any neighborhood, in any town,
just like
USA.
Yours.
Got it.
And a primered van pulled up with Cosby and Weinstein driving.
And Epstein.
We're all in the van and took them to what they labeled a rape mall. It's a mall for raping.
Jesus.
And that the mom was there. Well, it's all going to be scripted.
Yeah.
And she literally just turned toward the cashier to pay for the froyo and turned around. No sight. Gone.
Oh,
the child was gone. Van, unmarked, no plates.
Windowless.
And they found the body in the river, even though there's no river. No. But you know what I mean?
Where the river would
going.
be.
We'll just keep going. Mm-hmm. And then when she'd returned from the coroners after identifying the body, she walked in on her husband having an affair.
Oh.
And he immediately cut her off, like that Tyler Perry show movie, A Diary of a Mad Black Woman, threw all her clothing out onto the street.
Waiting to exhale.
Was forced out. She started eating chocolate again. She hadn't had chocolate. She'd been soul cycling and not eating chocolate, but she got back onto chocolate.
Uh-huh. Is this the first episode? Or the series arc?
Yeah. Thank God.
Establishing.
She had a 3-legged puppy that was a rescue, Ernie, that did go. That was the only possession because the new woman had moved into the house.
Quickly.
Okay. And then we're going to capture every single woman on the planet is going to listen to this podcast because that's their
sweet spot.
Their favorite thing. I also have a companion podcast called Quit Listening to Podcasts and Get Back to Fucking Work that I'd like to tack on to that one.
That's good.
Can't
as
you
well.
listen on the way to work?
Except for these listeners.
Oh, yeah, not these listeners.
Yeah.
Not these, not our listeners. Sorry.
You guys put a pot of coffee on Hunker Down.
Great.
So People.com reports that Kobe Bryant's items...
Hold on, let's put Trump in the van, too.
Okay.
He grabs them.
He grabs them. Yeah. You want a presidential pin? Come on in the van. That's where they are.
Yep.
Sorry.
Kobe Bryant's items can no longer be found on the Nike website since the passing of the Lakers star on Sunday. But according to the Athletic brand, they sold out. They sold out of all of Bryant's related products, despite reports that they were pulled from the website in order to limit the resale of his merchandise so that items wouldn't later be resold at a higher price. While Bryant, who signed, A $40 million deal with the brand in 2003 used to have tons of Nike branded merchandise available. If you search Kobe, at least, at the time of reading this, it only yields Laker themed Nike gift cards. Everything is gone.
Let's weave in the three chicks from Friends are in another van. And they're chasing the pedophile van.
Oh, that's good.
Right?
Yeah.
So Jennifer Aniston and
Lisa
Phoebe
Kudrow.
and Kudrow, whatever. Yeah,
Courtney Cox.
they're chasing the other van because we have to weave in a little hope,
A little
too.
levity.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like one of the chicks from The Office is in there too.
They're so lovable, too.
Yeah. Okay. So
Mindy Kaling.
Write
Throw
that
Mindy
down.
Kaling in
Put
there.
Mindy Kaling in there. That's right. Let's get
That's
diverse.
So, Adam, this is just for you and me because I love Antiques Roadshow. This guy is getting a lot of press. The PBS show Antiques Roadshow is in the news today after a man brought a Rolex that he purchased in 1974 for $345.97 to find out what it's worth. He brought his unworn Rolex Oyster Cosmograph reference number 6263 in the hopes of learning its value. And, I'm going to spoil it for you. It's worth basically $500,000. Here's what the appraiser had to say about the rare find.
Collectors love this watch because Paul Newman wore it in a movie called Winning. Wasn't this particular model? It did not have the screw-down buttons. The one that Paul Newman wore, currently at auction, those watches are going for approximately $150,000 to $200,000. Your watch is more special. It says Oyster on it.
Yes.
They did that for an extremely short period of time. We refer to that as a Mark II dial. And this particular model, being marked Oyster, is extremely, extremely rare. A watch like this at auction is worth about $400,000.
And he's down.
From no reaction
okay?
to that?
A woman kind of comes, making sure everyone's okay.
Oh, save it, producer.
Don't fall. I'm not done yet.
He goes on to say that this watch, because he has all the paperwork and all the foil on the back and everything, is actually could go for $500,000 to $700,000.
Yeah. I bought my dad a trumpet. That's how I got rich.
An oyster trumpet?
We did a man show bit on Antique Roadshow.
I don't remember that.
We've never called it up. It was like fairly funny, but it wasn't. I wasn't in love with it. Like it was a 7 or something like that. So I don't really talk about that much. But what I do remember is there's one thing I learned from the Man Show, which is like old people cannot act. Like I remember you try to get like old bum guy. Like I remember like old bum guy. Like I like appeared in front of him like out of puff of smoke, and it's like we try to say to the guy, hey. You look at the booze bottle, you look at the genie who just landed, you look back at the booze bottle, and you just dump it out and, like, shake your head. And the person was like, genie lands, shakes his head. No. Look at the genie, look at the booze bottle, then dump the booze and shake it like, never again, never, I'm done with this booze. And be like, genie land, look at the booze. Shake your head at the booze. Look at the genie.
Offer him a drink.
Like it's like what you. Goddamn! What is? I mean, I remember. What used to happen. My wiring is like it was. I remember Tom Stern was doing it. Was directing. After about the 26 one, I would go to the person and go, just fucking do what I'm telling you to do. And Tom's like, don't agitate them. I'm like, I'm sorry. You're an adult. You're an actor. You auditioned. Like, we found you. We didn't come to your house and get you. You calling yourself an actor. Just fucking look at the stupid genie and then look at the bottle and shake your head. They can't do it. It's a crazy. The guy, when I did the Man Show, like antique porn show or whatever it was, one of the guys was a actor from Chips. He was like the 28-year-old guy who was like back at the headquarters, like Poncherella and Larry Wilcox or whatever,
Baker.
John and Baker and whatever, and the captain. And he was like 5th or 6th down. He'd be like the guy that was always at the Gunther at the Central Perk or whatever it is. Like, it's the guy who's just kind of always there. What's why coming in? Here's your report. Yeah, that's when he'd walk back. that guy couldn't fucking do what I was telling him to do. Like, I was like, look at the porn book and then look up and look sad or whatever. It's like, it's unbelievable. And I'll tell you the part that's unbelievable about acting. It's not so much that they can't act, they can't follow instructions.
Right.
They go, walk in, stop on this mark, then you turn to me, and you see them walk right past you. It's like, it's so prevalent in acting. And then you realize, I don't think this guy could ever act. He just looked good when he was 28 in like the Chip uniform. All right, I've not seen antique porn show in 20 years, but we'll take a look at it.
The Antique Porn Show with vintage porn expert Adam Carolla.
My Uncle Ted left it to me when he died. Don't know if it's worth anything.
Well, let's have a look-see. This is truly an exquisite example of a pre-World War II jackrag. It's definitely authentic. You can see here by the extremely hairy vagina that it's the real McCoy. I'd say a publication in this condition is worth anywhere between $2,000 and $2,500. This is real... wait a minute. Pages 29 through 53 are stuck together. Did you do this? This is worth no more than $5.
Soiled.
Took like 70 takes to give him the look. It's old-timey inflatable doll.
Patchwork.
See how old people can't act?
Attic of your new home?
Yes, the previous owner was this sweet old lady, and we figured it belonged to her.
Well, it looks to be ivory. Chinese, I'd say. Perhaps from the early Dong or Wang dynasty. Oh, yes. Definitely indicative of Dong. Has a very substantial feel to it. Still in working order, I see. A lovely dildo like this would fetch between $1,000 and $1,200 at auction.
All right, we got it. It's all this antique
Dildos.
buck plugs and dildos and patchwork inflatable dolls and everything. But the guy, it was the first guy. He was the guy from Chips. And I was trying to get him, like, you look, and it's like, it's worth $2,500. And I go, did you do this? And you just hang your head in shame. Or he just couldn't do it. He'd smile and go,
He'd shake his head.
Just bad takes, just kind of like not what you were looking for. He couldn't do it.
A little community theater-y.
I just remember thinking, like, oh, God damn, you're actors. Like, and the next guy's like, the old guy's like, sitting there and they go, ha! It's like a huge face and does like the crazy high five. I don't know. The way old people do high fives, the way King Kong would try to swat down biplanes, like, like, just raise your hand and slap the other guy's hand. Yes, you don't have to go nuts. And that's what I remember from the Antique Roadshow.
Footnote to that, to your story about the look at the bottle and pouring it out, that old trope, you know what I mean? Like, oh, no more drinking for me. I've seen something too crazy. I know you bemoan the loss of that comedy trope. Last night, watching The Princess and the Frog with Tessa. She's in The Princess and the Frog. 2009, this scene happens. These two frogs are running through a ball, you know what I mean? They're going across crazy things are happening. Go ahead and play the clip.
2009.
2009. Dogs chasing them.
Excuse me!
This guy.
What?
Dumps out the booze.
Dumps
Out the booze, yeah.
It's alive. It's alive.
They did that joke a lot.
You can turn it off.
Every single time Bewitched would blink herself into town, she would always land in an alley, and there'd always be a bum in the alley, and he'd see it. No one else would see it, and he'd look at the
bottle
booze and dump it
Never
out.
again.
That's all I was trying to do with this person. Couldn't do it. All right, what else you got, Gina Grant?
Well, firefighters in New Jersey shared a video reminding residents why they shouldn't park next to fire hydrants. The Camden, New Jersey, you'll see it now.
Busting some windows and pulling hoses through windows.
Posted a video to Facebook showing what happens when crews had to extinguish the flames at an occupied residence. We're looking at the video now. 2 giant smashed windows with the hose going through, broken out by the firefighters so they could run their hose through the car into the house. Fire was extinguished. No injuries were reported. But yeah, don't be a jackass and don't blame anyone but yourself if this happens.
Did they go? Yeah.
To get to the hydrant.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, they love it. They're like, look, The axe,
freebie.
the axe to the fireman is the gun to the cop. Like, there's so many shootings. Like they give you an axe.
It's right
Get
there.
itchy. Get itchy trigger finger.
Well, I'm telling you, man, when I used to work at the end of the Tom Johnson's industrial park there, and one day at morning we showed up and his skylight was all busted open, his door was all busted open. I was like, what happened? The dude, it's such a perfect Chatsworth white trash story. Cabinet maker dude who was in the next shop over, got in a blowout with his old lady, went to go sleep in the camper that was in his cabinet shop. It was a truck camper he had like up on Jackson. He was like stored there, but that was like his party room or something. He went in there, had a few belts. He was a smoker, dozed off with the cigarette. Whole place went on fire. Now, Tom Johnson's unit was not on fire, and they just started busting up. They just came up with the axe and started smacking every door, and we didn't need ours busted open. That's not where the fire was, but that's how they roll. Well, you give a 26-year-old guy an axe who's got an axe to swing, and you give a 26-year-old guy a fucking 44, and shit's coming out. He'll make use of it.
Yeah.
Yep. I look, when we were at the Man Show and Cousin Sal got hold of a taser, he tased every single person in the building. Now, I mean, that's Cousin Sal, but that's a lot
what else is
most
supposed to
dudes
do?
would do that.
young dudes roll that way. All right, let's do one more.
All right. Well, for those tired of the romantic cliches on Valentine's Day, British Columbia's Hotel Zed has a holiday alternative for you. They are offering a 4-hour nooner special on February 14th, which they've done for the past 5 years, and they do quite well. So couples check in at 10 a.m., you check out at 2 p.m. for about $45 American dollars, and you get yourself a little afternoon delight, and you could follow that up with some ping pong in the lounge or the hot tub outside. Meanwhile, the hotel chain is raising the stakes this year by saying that if a couple has a baby 9 months after their stay, they'll win a free stay at the hotel of their choice in the next 18 years.
Yeah. I feel bad for the maids, right?
Yeah.
Like, don't you feel like hot sex bed? You got to come up and clean up. And
take that day off.
Turnover.
Yeah. And
Turn
then,
down service.
then also there's the next, whoever, like, what's the occupancy like the next day? Like, hey, we're back to regular business hours. Come on in, business people.
Well, that night, the reason they probably get them out at 2 is so they can get people checked in at 4.
That's right.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
don't know. There's like too much essence blowing around that,
Too much musk.
room. Too much musk,
Yeah.
you know?
We've been watching a lot of Curb, and we've been rewatching the 9th season, and a lot of talk between J.B. Smoove and Larry David about fuck scent
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
in the guest house.
I am, now that I have, it's so weird. I mean, everything seems like a weird coincidence, but I have these little incidents, and I think something of them, and then sometimes I think, well, that'd be perfect for this. That'd be a funny montage.
Yeah, Mercy Playground.
Yeah.
I smell sex and candy.
Sex and candy.
That would be this would be a perfect vignette for Curb Your Enthusiasm. And I was thinking about it, and I've been thinking about it for like a couple of years, and I never had any contact with Larry David, but now I have contact with him. And so I was thinking about this vignette that I had that would be perfect in his world. And I never
You sit next to a costume designer on an airplane.
That's right. Start verbally jousting. So I have no. I'm not going to start pitching ideas to him over the phone or whatever. But fine. But it's always been in my head. So the deal was some version of this. He goes into a coffee shop. He's with his manager and his agent and Jeff or whoever and a couple of guys. The guy, they all get the latte. The guy's doing the thing at the top to make it look like a heart or whatever it is. Somehow, when Larry's is a leaf, when Larry's is presented, someone opens the back door and a little wind comes in or something, and his kind of looks like a swastika or something, and he wants to know why is his different than theirs.
That's good.
And I said, it's a perfect vignette. Yeah. He obviously has some like pre-existing beef with the guy,
Mocha Joe.
the guy behind the counter, and that was always my idea. Like I've talked about on the air that I went to a coffee place and there was an Asian guy who was like 50, he was behind the counter, and he made a heart and he like presented it to me, and I'm like, fucking combined age is dead. You know what I mean? Like, we're a couple of dudes. Like, save it for the chicks. Save it for the believers or something. I'm a fucking old dude who just wants a couple. You don't have to dress it up. You don't have to put the Canadian flag on it or something.
Maple leaf.
Put something other than a heart. Like, what's going on here?
A little intimate.
And I immediately just have this, Curb Your Enthusiasm. Oh, that'd be a funny exchange. Or maybe Larry gets the heart and goes like, really? Or maybe he gets the heart, but someone else gets something different. He's getting something different.
Yeah.
He thinks he's being singled out. Whatever. I talked to him a few times on the phone, and I never pitched it to him. But then the season opens. It's all about a coffee shop, and it's all about a guy who doesn't like behind the counter at the coffee shop. And you could pull a clip of this podcast from a year and a half ago where I'm going, it's Curb Your Enthusiasm. It'd be a funny episode if they blah, blah, blah. So I don't know how anything works, but it's weird, right?
It's weird. It's in the zeitgeist, yeah.
It's all about first episode and the coffee guy. And he's got a beef with the coffee guy. Now he's going to open his own coffee thing. It's like coffee.
And here we are.
And formerly there was no coffee. Him doing a play or him doing a movie or whatever. It makes all sense. Right. Coffee sounds way out there, but here we are. All right, let's bring it home, Gina Grad.
You got it. I'm Gina Grad, and that's the news.
Stop.
No.
Oh, stop.
Gina Grad.
That was the news with Gina Grad.